Jeju Peace Institute to deliver his keynote speech. Everyone, let's please give Ambassador Kim Bong-hyun a big round of applause.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and privilege to be invited to the Jeju Forum 2019. I must be here today together with you. However, I could not join you this morning due to unavoidable urgent family matters. I take this opportunity to congratulate all of you, in particular Governor Won Hee-byung of the Jeju Special Self-Governing Province, as well as the incredible people of Jeju Island on the success of this year's forum. It comes at a critical time for both Asia and the world for building resilient peace and prosperity. Since its inception in 2001, the Jeju Forum has been continuously suggesting relevant themes and agenda to the intellectuals of the world and played a leading role in the promotion of cooperation and regional integration in Asia. The role of Jeju Forum is particularly noteworthy as nationalism and isolationism are expanding and eventually threatening multilateralism around the world. Today, I wish to share some insights with you based on my experience as UN Secretary General on how multilateralism should be operating for our peaceful, dynamic, and sustainable future, and Asia's leading role to this end. First, I will identify some of the current threats to our multilateral order. Second, I will highlight the universal benefits that the multilateral order brings. And third, I will underline the importance of the role of the emerging powers in the maintenance of multilateralism, as well as the role of Asia in bringing about its future successes. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, threats to the multilateral order are proliferating in tandem with the geopolitical and economic shifts we have witnessed over the last few years. Human rights are under suppression as populist nationalism spreads. Vulnerable populations, including refugees, immigrants, are scapegoated for electoral gain at the domestic level. Development and humanitarian funds are being slashed, unfortunately. Multilateral treaties and bodies, such as the Paris Climate Agreement, the Iran nuclear deal, the UN Human Rights Council, are at risk due to withdrawal from major pledges. The UN Security Council's failure over Syria is one of the most visible examples where failures of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations to agree to a collective position which resulted in disastrous and tragic outcomes. Meanwhile, the global system of free trade that increases total economic output and stimulates growth is under attack from its greatest benefactors, as US trade wars with China and the European Union are dangerously expanding. In our interconnected world, where long-standing economic ties and integrated global supply chains have contributed to stability and cooperation, such tensions have the potential to spread beyond trade and negatively impact other areas, including tech and maritime security. Under this backdrop of threats to multilateralism, I firmly believe that we must continue to work together through expanded cooperation, partnership, and regional integration to cope with these pressing challenges. During my 10-year tenure as UN Secretary General, I strived to execute my global leadership duties in support of multilateralism as it brings notable benefits to all. This includes individuals, communities, and states. Multilateralism is clearly in the interest of small states, which benefit from having agreed international rules and institutions where their voices can be heard. At the same time, multilateralism is also in the interest of powerful states, as it enables them to shape the international order without resorting to unilateral demonstrations of economic and military might. Multilateral cooperation is also crucial in containing and eliminating the threat of nuclear weapons. The Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, has been a powerful, positive example which has helped to contain the spread of nuclear weapons over the last 50 years. It is deeply concerning that P5 countries of the United Nations are paying little more than lip service to their disarmament commitment under NPT. In this regard, I would like to briefly share my experience in stewarding climate change negotiations during my time leading the United Nations. While climate change was not an explicitly political issue, negotiations were centered on the strategic considerations of big powers, such as the United States and China, as well as the existential considerations of many small island states. I'm incredibly proud of the fact that we unanimously achieved the UN's landmark climate goal, and the Paris Agreement was adopted in 2015, following a dramatic late-night negotiations. This was a resounding victory, not only for our Earth, but for multilateralism as well. The Paris Agreement is one of multilateralism's greatest recent successes and clearly demonstrates that no one country can resolve pressing international challenges alone. But we must go further, as Paris is a starting point. Climate change is hindering development and fueling conflict, displacement, and public health risks around the world. These dynamics will continue to worsen in the absence of strong multilateral cooperation and renewed political will. These threats do not discriminate. Nations both large and small are endangered by them. As the multilateral order and its benefits remain universal, it is imperative that emerging powers should increase their contributions to maintaining this order. The multilateral order centered on the United Nations has at times struggled to properly reflect the changing global power distribution since World War II. Many parts of the world, particularly here in Asia, have seen dramatic economic growth precisely because of the opportunities offered by the multilateral order on trade and globalization. These opportunities have resulted in an explosion of global middle class. They have also drastically scaled up prosperity for countries, businesses, and individuals. In this connection, the emerging powers of today, such as China, India, Korea, Australia, and others, should step forward to contribute more in the maintenance of the same multilateral order that aided their development and increased their international status over the past decades. I hope to see more emerging powers step up in this regard in support of multilateralism. We all stand gain from such efforts as we collectively strive to enhance peace, development, and prosperity across the globe. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward in the 21st century, we are likely to see a shift towards a multipolar world, and Asia's dynamism, innovation, and people power leaves it well positioned to help steer our multilateral future. In an increasingly multipolar and interconnected world, multilateral cooperation in the 21st century will need to be strengthened further in order to deal with an ever-growing number of problems which cut across the national borders. Underpinned by multilateral cooperation, we can realize a peaceful and prosperous Asia, as well as a peaceful and prosperous world. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Kim, for delivering UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon's keynote address. And with that, we will conclude the opening ceremony. We will follow this session straight up with the World Leader session right after we get the stage ready, so please don't go anywhere. Thank you.